Fellow camera nerds, we have got to talk about the Alice camera. If you haven't seen the Alice camera yet, this is the latest Kickstarter extravaganza product, selling itself, designed for creators, for creating reels and TikToks and YouTube videos. And essentially, it's a camera that uses your phone, iPhone or Android, as sort of the brain. So before we get too into it, what is it on paper? What are the specs? What is it promising to deliver? So the Alice promises mirrorless camera quality at a fraction of the weight and size. It's a micro 4/3 mount, claims it's going to record 4K video at 30 FPS or 4K 1080p at 60 FPS, electronic image stabilization, and AI-powered auto exposure, auto white balance, and auto focus. Plus, it's going to include 64 gigs of internal memory and a slot for an external plug-in through USB-C, so you can record to an SSD if you want, as well as a 3.5mm headphone jack for audio interface. And the body itself of the Alice promises to be like very, very small. Without a phone mounted to it, it's like half the size of an iPhone 15 Pro Max, so it's pretty compact. And clearly this is resonating with some creators out there because as of the time of this recording, this device is already pre-ordered, or back-ordered, I should say. Now, this sounds kind of cool on paper, but the thing that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around is what they're asking for in terms of price. The team behind the Alice camera are asking for $999 US for this camera that essentially is a sensor, 64 gigs of memory, and an AI chip for your autofocus, auto white balance, etc. But you need a smartphone to run it at all. You cannot independently operate the device in any way, which means that you need to be shelling up probably another $1,000 for a phone on top of the $1,000 for this device. And that doesn't include a lens. So yes, you still need a lens to connect to this camera to use it. So all said and done, you are all of a sudden stacking up a very expensive buying proposition. When you're talking about a $1,000 US camera, you have a lot of camera body options if you want to go the standalone route that aren't going to need a smartphone for compatibility's sake, or to be used at all for that matter. Perfect example. I'm currently shooting on my Sony a6700 and a Sigma lens that was $300. Yes, you could probably use that exact same lens on this Alice camera, but let's get back to the body. That's really the important part here. The a6700, it's the latest and greatest, so it's about 1,800 Canadian dollars. However, the older A-series camera bodies, which I started with the a6400, are much, much more affordable. In fact, they would be probably priced cheaper without a kit lens or a lens of any kind than this Alice camera. Now, there's no denying that this body, the Alice camera body, is definitely more compact than what you're going to get with an A6400 or any mirrorless camera body for that matter. But if that's all you're after, then you should really be looking at something maybe like a Ricoh GR3. But I really have a hard time figuring out why we're so obsessed with saving on space. The bigger the camera body, the more battery life you're going to get, the more features it's going to have, the better sensor it's going to have, etc., etc. Personally, I think if you're in the market for a camera and this Alice camera has come up on your feed and you're seriously considering it, I would strongly suggest you go and look at what's truly out there in the mirrorless camera market before you go and shell out $1,000 US on something that at this point hasn't even really been mass produced. Even if you end up getting it, and with these pre-order Kickstarter type deals, it's always a gray area. Trust me, I love a good Kickstarter. I've been screwed a couple of times though. You're better off to put that kind of money, especially if you're like a up and coming content creator, on something just more reliable, more well-known, a Nikon, a Sony, a Canon, any other brand really, other than some startup from the other side of the world trying to do it in a new way. Now, granted, the AI technology, the AI chip in this Alice camera might end up being incredible and really, really helpful, and it might produce really incredible shots. However, again, going back to my Sony camera experience, this A-series line of cameras has a great processor in them. The 6700 that I'm shooting on has a fantastic AI system built into it because it's got the latest processor unit, but the a6400 was no slouch either. Also, you cannot discredit or forget the fact that it's a micro 4/3 sensor. My camera nerds, again, will know that there is a significant difference between that and full frame and APS-C, etc. It's just very different worlds. At the end of the day, you just have to remember there are differences between micro 4/3 and the other systems out there, and it's going to affect and potentially change the way that you shoot. Now, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, I will say the Alice boasts a couple of cool potential features, like the ability to remotely control the camera body without actually physically having the phone strapped to it, so essentially like Bluetooth control. But I'd also argue just use a tripod, right? If you need to be able to control your camera from a distance, use a tripod and a remote, or, set up on a self-timer or something. I don't know. The whole thing to me just seems like a bit of a weird mix. I mean, again, I guess if you really want to up your content creation game and you don't want to get disconnected from your iPhone or Android phone, sure, this is an option. But again, as I already stated, there are better buying options, better buying propositions from super well-known, super reputable brands, your Sonys, Nikons, Canons, etc., that are going to get you a better product, something with some longevity, something with some warranty, and something that will actually get delivered to you after you buy it. But again, as always, what do you guys think about the Alice camera? I'll leave a link to it down below so you can check it out and learn a little bit more about it. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you agree. Let's discuss it as always down in the comments below, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon in the next video.